Holy Terra is not just the capital of the Imperium. It's the most defended, most worshipped, most bureaucratically insane planet in the galaxy. Trillions of people will die without ever setting foot on it, and plenty of them spend their whole lives trying anyway. So let's go through it, layer by layer, from the top of the palace, down to what's buried underneath. The Imperial Palace. At the very top of Holy Terra stands the Imperial Palace. Calling it a palace is almost misleading. Built across the entire Himalayan mountain range and expanded continuously for over 10,000 years, it has grown into one of humanity's largest and most heavily fortified structures. But size is only the beginning. The Imperial Palace is an entire world within a world. Behind its massive walls lie colossal cathedrals, fortress districts, military garrisons, industrial manufactorums, endless archives, landing fields, diplomatic halls, and living quarters for countless servants, officials, soldiers, and pilgrims. Entire lifetimes are spent inside its walls by people who will never see more than a tiny fraction of it. No one truly knows the palace in its entirety. Every millennium has added new halls, new defenses, and new layers of construction, while older sections were sealed, abandoned, or simply forgotten. There are vaults whose original purpose has been lost to time, passageways that have remained unopened for centuries, and ancient machinery that continues to operate long after the people who built it disappeared from history. The palace is also the political, military, and spiritual heart of the Imperium. It houses the High Lords of Terra, the legendary Adeptus Custodes, vast imperial institutions, and some of humanity's most heavily protected relics. Every corridor, gate, and wall exists to defend something far more important than the building itself. Because deep beneath the palace lies one of the Imperium's greatest secrets, the Emperor's abandoned Webway project, an unfinished attempt to free humanity from its dangerous dependence on warp travel. And deeper still is the Forbidden Chamber that every one of those walls was ultimately built to protect, the Sanctum Imperialis, where the Emperor himself sits upon the Golden Throne. The Adeptus Custodes. Between the palace and the Emperor stand the Adeptus Custodes. Unlike Space Marines, they are not an army built for conquest. Every custodian is individually crafted through genetic engineering, psycho-conditioning, and decades of training until they become something closer to a living weapon than a human being. Their primary duty has never changed. They do not patrol the galaxy, they guard the Emperor. For more than 10,000 years, countless threats have reached the palace gates, but almost none have ever reached the Golden Throne itself. Long before an enemy could enter the Sanctum Imperialis, they would have to survive the watch of warriors, who have spent entire lifetimes preparing for that single responsibility. The Sanctum Imperialis. Deep within the Imperial Palace lies the Sanctum Imperialis, the single most heavily guarded chamber in the entire Imperium. Every fortress, shield generator, and army defending Holy Terra ultimately exists to protect what is hidden here. At its center is the Golden Throne. Despite its name, it is not simply a throne, but an immense machine, unlike anything else humanity has ever built. Its mechanisms stretch far beneath the palace, woven into ancient systems so complex that even the Adeptus Mechanicus no longer fully understands them. They can preserve parts of the throne, but they can no longer recreate its technology, and with every passing century, the machine continues to deteriorate. The Emperor has remained bound to the Golden Throne for more than 10,000 years. It sustains what remains of his physical existence, while also containing the warp breach left behind by the failed Imperial Webway project. If the throne were ever to fail completely, Terra itself could become the center of a catastrophic demonic invasion. The throne is also linked to the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon that allows navigators to steer Imperial ships through the warp. Without its light, the Imperium would fragment into millions of isolated worlds, unable to communicate or reinforce one another across interstellar distances. Keeping those systems alive demands an unimaginable sacrifice. Across the Imperium, the infamous Black Ships travel from world to world, gathering psychers and bringing them to Terra. Every single day, more than 1,000 of them are sacrificed so their psychic energy can sustain the Emperor and the vast psychic machinery upon which the Imperium depends. Every fleet that reaches its destination, every regiment that arrives to reinforce a distant war, and every message that crosses the stars owes its existence to this one chamber. Hidden beneath the Imperial Palace, the Golden Throne is not merely the seat of the Emperor, it is the failing heart that keeps the Imperium alive. Before anyone could even hope to reach the Golden Throne, they would first have to pass the Eternity Gate. It is considered one of the most heavily defended entrances ever constructed by humanity. Layers of custodian guards, hidden defenses, and ancient security systems protect the path beyond it. For almost every living person in the Imperium, the Eternity Gate is a place that exists only in legend. The Administratum. Step away from the Imperial Palace, and you'll find the true engine of the Imperium, not armies or space marines, but paperwork. Holy Terra is home to the Administratum, the vast bureaucracy responsible for governing 1,000,000 worlds from a single planet. Every tax collected, every regiment raised, every shipment of ammunition, every planetary census, and every request for reinforcements eventually passes through its endless offices. The volume of information is so overwhelming that entire districts of Terra exist for nothing but storing records, copying documents, and processing reports. Billions of clerks, scribes, archivists, and record keepers spend their entire lives inside these halls. Many inherit the same duties their parents performed before them, spending decades copying a single category of records without ever seeing the wider purpose of their work. No individual understands the entire system. Each person is responsible for only a tiny fragment of an empire that spans the galaxy. The Administratum moves at a pace measured in years, sometimes centuries. A request for supplies may arrive long after the battle it was meant to support has already ended. A transcription error can misdirect entire Imperial Guard regiments or leave a world waiting decades for food, medicine, or reinforcements. In the Imperium, a single misplaced document can cost millions of lives. It sounds absurd, but this bureaucracy is one of humanity's greatest weapons. Without it, the Imperium's armies would stop receiving supplies. Its worlds would lose contact with one another, and the largest empire in human history would collapse under the weight of its own size. The Petitioner's City. Beyond the walls of the Imperial Palace lies the Petitioner's City, a settlement that was never planned, yet has grown for thousands of years into one of the largest pilgrimage sites in the Imperium. Every day, new arrivals step off pilgrim ships, believing they have finally reached humanity's holiest world. For many of them, the journey has already taken decades. They come seeking every imaginable blessing. Some hope to glimpse the Imperial Palace with their own eyes. Others carry petitions for the High Lords, plead for imperial justice, or simply dream of praying as close to the Emperor as any ordinary citizen can. But almost none of them will ever pass beyond the palace gates. The waiting itself has become a way of life. Families build homes, businesses, shrines, and entire communities while standing in queues that barely move from one generation to the next. Children are born there, grow into adults there, and are buried there, all without ever reaching the audience their parents spent a lifetime hoping to receive. Yet the city never empties. As one generation dies, another arrives from distant worlds to take its place. On Holy Terra, faith is powerful enough that billions willingly devote their entire lives to a journey they already know they will probably never complete. The surface. Beyond the palace districts, Holy Terra is a planet-sized hive city. Oceans, forests, and most traces of Earth's natural landscape disappeared thousands of years ago, buried beneath layer after layer of urban construction until almost the entire world became one continuous city. Trillions of people live here, packed into towering hab blocks that rise for kilometers above the surface, while older districts disappear deep below them. Most citizens never travel farther than a few districts from where they were born. Their lives revolve around factory shifts, government offices, and the endless routines needed to keep the Imperium's capital functioning. Even on humanity's holiest world, life is rarely glorious. Food is rationed, Air is recycled, sunlight barely reaches many of the lower levels, and countless workers will spend their entire lives serving the Imperium without ever seeing the Emperor's palace, except as a distant silhouette on the horizon. What's buried underneath? But Terra doesn't end at the surface. Beneath the hive cities lie thousands of years of buried history, forgotten civilizations, ancient catacombs, collapsed cities, abandoned infrastructure, and the remains of old Earth itself. Every generation built on top of the last until entire eras of human history vanished beneath newer foundations. Hidden among those forgotten depths are some of the Imperium's oldest and most closely guarded secrets: vast military bunkers, ancient vaults, forbidden archives, and the shattered remains of the Emperor's Webway project still lie beneath the Imperial Palace, sealed away behind layers of stone, steel, and absolute secrecy. No one can say with certainty what still survives in the deepest forgotten levels. Some chambers have remained sealed for thousands of years. Others are so dangerous that even Imperial authorities refuse to enter them. On Holy Terra, history is not merely buried, it is imprisoned. Holy Terra isn't simply built on history, it is literally buried beneath it. Every new foundation rests on the ruins of another civilization that came before. From the Emperor upon the Golden Throne, to the Custodes guarding his palace, to the clerks processing paperwork for worlds they'll never visit, to the pilgrims who spend entire lifetimes waiting outside the gates, every layer of Holy Terra serves the same purpose: keeping the Imperium alive for one more day. That is the strange reality of humanity's capital. The most important planet in the galaxy isn't defined by endless wars or glorious victories. It's held together by ordinary people performing extraordinary duties, most of whom will never be remembered by history. Holy Terra has become a monument built not only from stone and gold, but from 10,000 years of faith, sacrifice, bureaucracy, and survival. Every layer tells a different story, yet all of them support the same empire. Which layer of Holy Terra fascinated you the most?